guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you're new here, my name is Paula and today I have a brand new video for you guys. If you've been following me, you might have noticed that I've been a little MIA on here as well as on my social media for the past few months. I have just been going through kind of a lot in my personal life, and I'm the type of person that when I go through things like that, I just kind of shut off and kind of hide away from the world and deal with it all on my own, and I don't like to share it. Please bear with me throughout this whole video. I've tried to film this multiple times and I just break down crying and I can't finish the video. I feel extremely vulnerable putting something so personal to my life out there for others to see and judge and talk about. But I've decided to be on YouTube and be on social media and share my life with you guys, and I don't feel that it would be fair for me to hide this, and I honestly also think that it would benefit me down the road to share my journey and have people to talk to about it and just help anyone else going through the same thing that I could possibly help. So if you've read the title of the video, then you already know what this video is going to be about. I am going to be taking you guys through my infertility journey. I never thought that I would say that I would be someone going through an infertility journey, but here I am. One quick little disclaimer that I want to say before I get into this video is if you don't have anything nice to say, please don't say anything at all. It's already extremely hard for me to come on here and share this, and I don't feel 100% ready to be doing this, but I feel like if I don't do it now, then I probably never will. So yeah, we're rolling with it. So if you really don't have anything nice to say, please don't say anything at all. So for those of you that do not know, some people might not know what an infertility journey is. Basically, it is when a couple is trying to have a baby, but they can't because they are infertile. By the way, this video might be a little TMI for some people. If it is, I completely understand if you click out and don't watch it, but if you are watching a fertility journey video, then you kind of already know what's going to be talked about in it. So I'm going to start all the way from the beginning. Basically, I got my period when I was 13 years old. I was in 8th grade when I first got my period, and from the very first time I got my period all the way till present day, my period has been completely horrible. Every time it comes around, I dread it. I have horrible menstrual cramps like 2 days before I get my period, and like 2 or 3 days into my period, I have horrible menstrual cramps. Aside from the fact that my periods are extremely painful, they are extremely heavy as well, so I do have a really heavy flow. The other thing is that I have an irregular cycle. So my period does not fall on the same day every month. If you have a period that falls on the same day every month, lucky you, because I don't have that. I don't really ever know when I'm gonna get my period until I start feeling cramps. It's been like that my whole life. I don't skip months anymore. When I was younger, I used to kind of like skip months between getting my period. Now for the past like 5 years, I do get my period every month. It is just completely irregular. Sometimes my cycles will last 28 days. Sometimes my cycles will last 40 days. I just never know when it's gonna happen. So I never really thought anything about that. I thought it was normal. I had a lot of friends growing up that said, oh yeah, my period is irregular too. So I didn't think that there was anything wrong with that. Fast forward to 5 years ago when I first met my boyfriend. I was on birth control. I took the pill. I was on that birth control for about 2 years into our relationship. I completely hated how it made me feel. Birth control was not for me. I tried 2 different pills and both of them made me sick when I took them. I just felt very nauseous. I would have constant headaches all the time. So one month I forgot to go get my pill refilled, and I kind of just never went back for it. I kind of just said, I'm gonna get off this. I don't like how I feel on it anyways. I talked to my boyfriend about it, and he said, yeah, that's fine. Like, don't get back on it if you don't like how it makes you feel. When it came to protection after that, there was kind of no protection happening. We weren't trying to have a baby by any means, but we weren't trying to prevent it either. And I have been together for 5 years now, and ever since that second year of our relationship that I got off birth control, I never went back on it. We never used any other form of contraception, and it's been 3 years of having unprotected sex. And quickly into the first year, I noticed like, okay, something's wrong, because we are having unprotected sex and I'm not getting pregnant. Not that I wanted to be by any means. At that time I was still fairly young and it's not something that I wanted, but I did notice that it wasn't happening. friend just kind of assumed that he had a low sperm count because he said he had previously been sexually active in a previous relationship where there was no protection, and the same thing happened. There was no pregnancy. So we just kind of assumed that something was wrong with him, and in the back of my mind I said like, oh, if something is wrong with him, it's gonna be hard for us to have kids down the line. But then again, I was 21, 22 years old. It was not in the back of my mind having kids, so I just kind of like pushed it off to the side. The years went on and I kind of didn't pay no mind to it. I was kind of just enjoying the fact that I wasn't on birth control. I finally felt myself and I could have unprotected sex and nothing was happening. Flash forward to this past year, like 2019, 2020, is when I started getting major baby fever. I didn't want to have a kid right now, but I knew that within the next year or two I really wanted to. Sorry, I really don't want to cry, but it's something that's still really fresh and really hard to talk about. So I knew that I did want to have kids. My boyfriend was on the same page. He did want to have kids too. He has a little sister that we've been taking care of since she was 1. I absolutely love kids. I've always known that I wanted to be a mom. It's something that I've always wanted. And constantly taking care of his little sister, at least once a week. I would love having her over, having her sleep over, taking her out. It just kind of confirmed that even more. I've always pictured myself as a mom. There hasn't been a point in my life that I've ever said like, no, I don't want kids. I don't know if I want kids. I've always pictured myself as a mom. I've always pictured myself with a little girl. Sorry, I don't want to cry on camera, but like I said, it's something that's still really fresh and it's something that I'm going through, so it is a little hard to share. So that's when I really started thinking about it, was last year. And then my little sister got pregnant and both of my boyfriend's cousins, both of them got pregnant. It just felt like everyone around me was getting pregnant, and for someone who wants that and is actively trying and it's not happening, seeing everyone around you get pregnant, it's really tough. And as much as you want to be happy for everyone around you, it's really hard to be. And not that I want to be selfish, because I'm completely happy for my sister and my boyfriend's cousins, but it's hard. It's really hard. It's also really hard having everyone in your family be like, oh, when are you having kids? When is it your turn? When like they don't know what's going on and you're not having them because you don't want them. You want them, it's just not happening. I kind of started tracking my cycles at the beginning of the year and tracking when I'm supposed to be like ovulating, which again, I had no idea like what it took to get pregnant. I had no idea that you had to have intercourse when you are fertile, when you're ovulating. Like, I just thought it could happen at any time of the month, so I didn't know that there were specific days that you had to have intercourse for it to happen. It wasn't just gonna happen like whenever. So I started doing that at the beginning of the year and I still saw no change, nothing was happening. Once my nephew was born in May and I held him for the very first time, it just kind of solidified that fact even more, and I was like, I want this. I want to be a mom. I want to do something about it now. Like, I need to go to the doctor. I need to find out what's wrong. So fast forward to June, and I had my first appointment with my gynecologist and just kind of let her know what was going on. She automatically sent me to get some tests done, so she sent me to get some blood work done. She made an appointment for me to get a vaginal ultrasound, and she made an appointment for my boyfriend to get his sperm tested, so for him to get a semen analysis. During this whole time, since my boyfriend years ago had told me like, hey, it might be me, I always thought, hey, it might be him. Like, it never occurred to me like, hey, no, it might be me. So at the beginning of this, it was a little easier just thinking like, hey, like, it's not me, nothing's wrong with me. Like, my boyfriend might just have low sperm count. Like, it's not that hard. It's not like it's unexplained and you have no idea. So we got all our work done. And then I had an appointment to go back in 2 weeks to get all our results. The night before that appointment, I literally could not sleep. I was so anxious. Something inside of me was just telling me like, it's you, it's you, it's It's not your boyfriend, it's you. Like, I just felt like there was something wrong with me, and like my body was failing me and my body was letting me down. Next day, my appointment rolls around. Because this is all happening during COVID time, my boyfriend is not allowed with me at appointments, so I kind of had to go to this by myself. I was a nervous wreck, and then that's when my doctor gave me my results. So she told me that my blood work looked good, that there wasn't anything abnormal in it. She told me that my boyfriend's sperm analysis had come back normal, that his counts actually were not low. They were not extremely high, but they were not low at all. They were right where they should be. She did say that a high percentage of his sperm had come back as it was abnormal sperm. So basically the sperm had like two heads or two tails, or like an enlarged body. When it comes to that abnormal sperm, it's kind of hard for an abnormal sperm to like fertilize an egg. And then she did let me know also that from my ultrasound, it came back that I had what was called a septate uterus. And I'm going to put a picture here so you can see. Basically, a septate uterus is when there's kind of like a thin wall going down the middle of your uterus. She did let me know that my uterus was looking like that, and most of the time that will make it just a little bit harder to get pregnant, and it will lead a lot of pregnancies to miscarriage or to early labor. She automatically right away recommended me to a fertility specialist. She said to just go to him, give him everything I had, and he would let me know what the next step was. So I left this appointment completely destroyed. Like, not only was there a percentage of my boyfriend's sperm that was not normal, and it was going to be already a little bit harder to get pregnant because of that, but now I have to worry about this septate uterus that I have that's, even if I do get pregnant, it's going to be hard to carry a pregnancy. I knew that something was also wrong with me. Like, I knew that there was no way that just low sperm count had prevented pregnancy for this many years. So automatically, as soon as I left, I called that fertility doctor and I made an appointment for as soon as I could. Really hard for me. I spent every day looking up absolutely everything that I could regarding everything my gynecologist had told me online, and that's a problem I have, that I look up everything online, and sometimes the internet is not your friend. That was really hard. I didn't want to do anything. I didn't want to work out. I wasn't taking care of myself. I wasn't eating how I should be eating. I was really depressed. Now fast forward to the day of my appointment with the doctor. I was really excited. I was really excited to meet him. I had already looked him up and read all the reviews about him, and he had his own like YouTube channel, and I had watched all his YouTube videos, and I was really excited to meet him. So we did the call with him. We automatically introduced ourselves. We let him know what was happening. He was amazing. Honestly, I'm so glad. My gynecologist recommended me to 2 different fertility specialists, and I'm so glad that I went with him, because he just made me feel so reassured, so much better. Answered so many questions that I had. So basically, I let him know like everything my gynecologist had told me, and right away he said not to worry about my boyfriend's sperm count, because the place where he had his semen analysis done is outdated. Like, their system is outdated by 10 years, so that his sperm is not abnormal, that it's perfectly fine, because I had submitted, like, I had faxed over all the results and everything that my previous doctor had given me to him, so he had already gone all over it. He told us not to worry about that, that there's absolutely nothing wrong with it. So I was pleased, because that was one thing that was already like, okay, I was so worried about this already, like now I don't have to. He did let me know that he wanted to perform an ultrasound himself to get a bigger picture of like what my uterus was looking like, but from what I had faxed him over, it didn't seem like there was anything really wrong with it. Like, I did have a little bit of a septate, which is like the line, but it wasn't anything absolutely major. It was nothing that I needed surgery for, and that he says that I could very successfully carry a pregnancy. So that right there made me feel automatically better. He did let me know that based on my blood work, which my gynecologist had said was perfectly fine, that it was looking like I had PCOS. Previous to this, I didn't really know much about PCOS. I had seen a few like mom blogs that I follow talk about how they had PCOS, but they were successful with their pregnancies. So I didn't really understand how I could have PCOS and still have gone 3 years without getting pregnant. And he started automatically talking to me about what PCOS was, the causes that it has on infertility, and everything that he was saying was just clicking. Like, oh, if you have PCOS, you also have this. Like, PCOS explains my irregular menstrual cycle. It explains my very painful menstrual cycle. I have suffered with acne a long time. PCOS explains that. I have suffered with weight gain. Like, when I'm not on my diet and when I'm not eating how I should be, I automatically gain weight like this, and it's all like in my abdominal region. PCOS also causes that. PCOS causes a lot of anxiety and depression, which nobody besides my boyfriend really knows that I go through. I've been living with my boyfriend for 4 years, and he knows very well that I do get these stages of anxiety and I do get these stages of depression. Growing up, it's nothing that I ever really talked about, because I love my family, but the family that I come from, like, I guess it's the Hispanic culture, we don't really talk about these things. Like, we don't really talk about like depression and anxiety. Like, not that it's not real, but it's just kind of like put to the side, like, no. So I've never really like talked to my family or my friends about that. I keep all that stuff kind of to myself. Obviously my boyfriend has experienced it because we live together, so he sees that, but nobody else in my life really does. He let me know that having PCOS doesn't mean that you can get pregnant. There's a lot of women who successfully get pregnant with PCOS. He also told me that PCOS is one of the most common causes of infertility in women. So basically the hormone imbalance that you have when you have PCOS, it interferes with the growth and the release of the egg from the ovaries. His main concern is that I'm not ovulating, that my ovaries are not properly growing and releasing eggs. Obviously, I cannot get pregnant without the release of an egg. Without an egg, there's nothing for a sperm to fertilize and grow into a baby. If I had ever done ovulation tests like at home, I had actually never done that before. My gynecologist did mention it when I very first went to see her back in June, but between then and the time I'd see him, I hadn't had a period to test it. So I let him know that I hadn't tested. He also told me that there was pretty much, when I have PCOS, no point in testing, because when you do an ovulation test like that, what it picks up is the LH level in your urine, which is what will tell you when you are ovulating or close to ovulating. And because I have PCOS, I already have high levels of LH, so it's not going to give me an accurate answer on when I'm ovulating, because I already naturally have really high levels of LH in my system. So pretty much we spent about 45 minutes with him talking about all that. He let me know that I did have to fix my diet. I do have to eat a very clean diet. I have to be very healthy because PCOS does mess with like your insulin in your body. So now the next thing that he wants to do is he wants me to get an HSG test. With an HSG test, they basically insert dye into my uterus and they'll like watch it on a screen, and they just want to see that the dye is going from my uterus to my fallopian tube, my ovaries, and like it just goes back out, that it's going through the whole process where like the sperm's supposed to go through, and that there is no blockage in my fallopian tubes, because if there is any blockage in that, that could also be a cause for my infertility. So he let me know that once I get that exam done, if everything comes out good and I have no blockage, he would probably want to start me on Clomid, which is basically just a drug, like a medication that will help my body ovulate on its own since it's not. And that he wants me to try that for about 3 to 5 months and see if it helps. If when they perform that test I do have some blockage, then that's a whole nother story. Depends where the blockage is, if it's at the start of the fallopian tubes, if it's at the bottom, like what can be done at that point. If it's at the start and it's like very minimal, he did say that it's kind of just like a surgery and they remove it, but if it is at the end of the fallopian tube towards the ovary, then it's very dangerous. I could lose my fallopian tube trying to clear that on its own. So then if that is the case, then I would probably have to go have an IUI or go through IVF, which I really don't want to have to go through. I know there are a lot of success stories with IVF, and I know people who have had their kids through IVF, but I know it's a very costly journey, and it's very hard. I consider myself to be a very strong person, but I still would not want to go through something like that. But right now I'm kind of just in a waiting game. I am waiting to get my next period because this HSG test has to be done between day 6 and day 12 of your cycle, so I'm kind of waiting to get my next period and to be in that waiting phase to go get this test done. And then once we get that done, then we'll have more answers and we'll know. I've always wanted to be a mom. Like I said, I never thought that at 24 years old I was gonna have to be going through an infertility journey. The reason I'm going through all this now and doing all this now is because now that I know that there is something wrong and I'm not going to be able to get pregnant naturally on my own, I know that these things take time, so I kind of want to start it now rather than later. I don't want to be 30 years old and just starting this. I'm really glad that I decided to go to the doctor now and find out what was wrong now, because like I said, these things do take time. And of course I want to have more than just one kid. I want to have multiple kids, and if I'm gonna have to go through this every single time that I want to have a kid, I'm kind of glad that I'm starting it now, even though I'm still young. And a lot of people say like, oh, you're still so young, you have so much time, like just wait. Like, I don't want to wait. Just glad that we have some answers now and that we can continue to go forward with this. And I decided with my boyfriend that since this is a journey we're going to be going through together, and it's going to be something that's going to be going on for the rest of our lives, that I didn't want to hide it. I wanted to share it. And again, I do feel extremely vulnerable putting this out there for everybody to see, but it's life and I want to be real with you guys, and I want to hopefully help someone else out there. Oh yeah, so the next step, I'm just waiting to get my test done. I'm going to take you guys with me through the whole journey, so I will obviously take you guys with me when I get that test done. I will share the results with you guys, and we'll just take it step by step as it happens. And yeah, that is actually going to be it for this video. Thank you guys for watching, thank you guys for listening, and thank you guys for letting me share my story with you. If you have any questions, please leave them down below. I'd be more than happy to answer them for you. If you're currently going through your own infertility journey, just know that I feel you, I am here with you, and please feel free to message me and we can talk and help each other out and just be there for each other. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video.